Hello. It is March 27th, 2026. It is time for a geopolitics thought of the day. Today, I am thinking about wars fought without declarations. Japan's bombing of Pearl Harbor was infamously carried out without a declaration of war to the United States. And more recently, the United States has attacked Iran without a declaration of war. There were legal reasons for Trump to forego getting a declaration of war. Uh, Specifically, he doesn't really have the power to do that. And there are technical reasons. They wanted to maintain the sense of surprise. They wanted to preserve the lives of U.S. service members. They wanted to make sure that their attacks had the greatest impact possible. There's also a sense, I think, that the United States and Iran have been in a low state of war for a long time. And the expansion of this state of hostilities doesn't require a declaration of war in the same way that, starting cold from two countries that are maybe saber rattling next to each other would. One last reason not to give a declaration of war might be that the Americans feel that the Iranian Islamic Republic is de facto illegitimate, that it's not a real government, and so a war against Iran is more of a police action. I think this is a very spurious claim. I don't think there's any reason to entertain that seriously, but I think it might make American decision makers view Iran as someone that they don't need to respect with a declaration of war. The old fashioned way of declaring war on somebody had a couple of steps. You would issue an ultimatum, you would wait for that ultimatum to run out. It usually had a time limit attached to it. And then you would tender a declaration of war. Um, this system is a little more complicated, and it was more common in an era where communications, militaries move slowly. So a declaration of war that happens on the same day as the actual start of hostilities wouldn't necessarily transform the battle space all that much. Today, military conflict is extremely technically intense and extremely rapid. So the propagation of information is so fast that just declaring war on somebody doesn't can lead to changes in their behavior within seconds or minutes of that declaration going live. But I want to make the case here that maybe we should be accepting difficulties in starting war, and we should accept the danger to military service members that are created by issuing an ultimatum and a declaration of war and going through all these steps. And the main reason why I would suggest that this formal process is superior to not issuing a declaration is that wars are fought for political reasons and are intended at a political outcome. And in order to achieve that political outcome, your political desires need to be well known. People need to be informed of what you want, and they need to have a chance to internalize that desire and work out where they stand in relation to it. The requirement for just the requirement to write out your reasons for going to war and make those public. Maybe not for someone as stupid as the Trump administration, but for a lot of people, would uh, creates an ability for people to determine if that war is worth it. Take Putin's war with Ukraine, for example. He claimed he wanted to demilitarize and denazify Ukraine. The fact that Putin stated his war aims gives the world a kind of a sense of what he wants and how realistic that is. In this case, those war aims are not realistic. They're not really founded on a cogent sense of what's actually happening in Ukraine. So it's kind of a bad example there, to be honest. But it creates an avenue towards understanding the conflict that the American strikes on Iran uh, don't. And this and understanding the conflict isn't just important for like open source intelligence and situation monitors and people like that. It's really important for people who are inside the government who are making decisions at all levels. Like you can't have a secret plan as the head of a government and then just expect everyone in your massive organization to understand that plan. You have hosts of planners from the tactical to the operational to the strategic to the geostrategic to the diplomatic levels of confrontation who are all relying on guidance, who are all relying on uh, this sort of itinerary, the setting of the goals to make their own decisions. That that kind of ability to set a shared obligation or a shared goal is something that we lose. And I worry that as we continually normalize acting illegally or acting outside of international legal norms, countries are not actually going to prosper from this system. They're going to suffer greatly. And if we forget that we actually have these systems and norms to fall back on to guide our actions, people are going to people are going to be confused. They're not going to have an ability to solve their problems if they decide that the solutions to their problems ahead of time are what's holding them back. Bit of a ramble today. Uh, that has been March 27th, 2026. See you tomorrow.